All right, so we're how far would you say we're in bowl season right now? We're halfway, maybe, just
Yeah,
based
we're
on these
getting through it.
records.
We're getting through it. I mean, we have a couple. Yeah, we have a couple more. It's only no. We have like 4 games left, I think. Right? We don't
Oh
have.
yeah, there's not
We
that
don't have, we
many
don't have
outside of
much
the
left.
playoffs.
Yeah, getting through it pretty quick. It's winding down. It's college football season.
Yeah, we just have like the slate of games today for the bowl games, and then the remaining bowl games are this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah. Well, it's been a hell of a season. I mean, geez, like first 12 team playoff. I mean, we haven't seen some of the best results to say the least with some of the blowouts we've seen, but I guess there will be changes for next year. But yeah, I mean, there's still some good games today. I mean, Alabama, Michigan, that'll be good. 15 South Carolina at 20 Illinois, that'll be a good game. I mean, yeah, I think like Baylor LSU with Kyron Lacey, that would be another good. I mean, there's a bunch of good games. I mean, it'll be good. And then to round off today, you have Penn State, Boise State, first game of the quarterfinals. It'll be good.
Yeah, I think yeah. Now all these bowl games today are very interesting in like their own way. Like you've like Alabama, Michigan is a rematch from last year's playoffs where Alabama lost in overtime. Michigan ended up becoming national champions. South Carolina and Illinois, both teams that had arguments to make the playoffs, but both skipped out of the playoffs. Baylor and LSU kind of middle of the pack in both their conferences, but were able to win some pretty big games. And then Louisville and Washington, they both could have very good futures in next year because Louisville picked up Miller Moss from USC, and it'll be Jed Fish's second year at Washington. And with what he was able to do at Arizona, Washington could very well become a good team if they make the right moves. And then, of course, there's Penn State, Boise State, which is has playoff implications.
We can see if Genty breaks the record too.
Oh yeah,
Most likely, this will be his like last game because I think, based off both our projections, that Penn State will somewhat wipe them. So, yeah, this is Genty's last game to kind of like just argue that he should have been the Heisman if he breaks Sanders' record today. So it'll be interesting.
yeah. And I mean, especially the way Travis Hunter performed in the BYU Colorado game. I think if Genty breaks the record, he's going to have a solid argument to be like, that Heisman should have been his.
Yeah, it was close though from the beginning. Like I think Genty or Hunter should have. I think either of them deserved it. I think overall, I think I would have picked Hunter just because of just the two-sided. Like you don't see that ever, and he was great at both positions. Like really good. Like 1,000 yards receiving, multiple picks, many touchdowns. Like he was phenomenal, and the way he was just able to stay available and not like get hurt, and it's been crazy. But obviously, Genty, he's literally been the entire offense, like
Yeah,
pretty much throughout the entire season, and he is the reason why they're the 3 seeds. So I guess you could have gone that way because Colorado didn't make the playoffs at all, but yeah, it was a toss up.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I was fine with either of them winning the Heisman. They both deserved it after this year. Like they both had really good years. If it had been like anyone else, I would have been a little confused as to what they would have been thinking over there. Except maybe Cam Ward, because Cam Ward he passed Case Keenum for I think it was either second most or most touchdowns in a college football season
Oh yeah, I
after
did.
the Iowa State Miami game.
And he got pulled out for the first half too.
Yeah,
It's crazy. He played like he had like a full game stat line in just the first half against a pretty solid Iowa State game. I mean, he played really well. Like I'm gonna pull that game up because that was that was crazy. I mean, yeah, like right here, 42-41 Iowa State won, but I think Cam Ward stayed in, he would have I
He would
think
have
he would have
won.
made him, yeah. He had 190 for 3 touchdowns. Like that's crazy. And just 8 yards on the ground. But that's 198 total yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. That's like a full game stat line for some quarterbacks. Like it's crazy. And you know what? That's like a really good help to his draft stock because now with the whole NFL like draft kind of shaping up now. I mean, we had some movement in like the first 5 picks in the NFL draft after this week, which I mean, this is more college football, but if we wanted to get into it, if we at the very end, if we have time, then we can talk about that. But it's Cam Ward. He may be taking over Shadur for that number one QB off the board because based off of Shadur's performance in that bowl game against BYU, now you kind of got to look. Is it more of a Cam Ward type of? You don't know. Is it Cam Ward? Is it Shadur? Who deserves to be that number one? I mean, Cam Ward. He's played phenomenally throughout the entire year, but I don't know. Shadur, he's always been on speed dial for Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, Shedder, I feel like he's kind of off and on. He's not the most consistent, but when he's on, he's on. Like he's really good. Um, but Cam Ward definitely has that consistency, and I think that's what more teams, especially those that have the first few picks, are looking for someone that's going to perform consistently for them, so that way they can see more improvement.
Yeah, and I think both of them are very capable of being successful in the NFL. I think just Cam Ward, his just I don't know his pocket presence is like insane. Like you don't really see that out of a typical quarterback. His mobility, and I think that's what we see now and more NFL quarterbacks. How big of a factor mobility is between the two MVP candidates right now, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has some sort of mobility to escape the pocket. Jalen Hurts, he's been phenomenal, and both of those quarterbacks have too. Like Shadur, he's great at it too, but obviously Cam Ward, he's just different when it comes to that. Like when we saw Louisville Lamar, it's like a Miami kind of Cam Ward. It's been crazy.
Yeah, and also just thinking of that one game, there was one play, I think it was towards the end of the first half, but Cam Ward literally stood straight up. Like he wasn't even like bouncing around in the pocket. He just stood straight up. And then like it was a short pass to the outside, I think to like his running back. But he had so much time in that pocket. Like he literally like he wasn't even in an athletic stance. He was just standing there, just completely straight up, and he just threw it out to the outside. He had so like he was just chilling there for so long.
Well,
And I
I'll
was
tell
like,
you right now, you won't see that in the NFL very often. So you kind of
yeah,
got to
no,
pocket while it lasts in college.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it really shows his confidence, like at that position, and his
I
confidence in his offensive line too. I mean, they're putting in work that game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he's gonna be successful. I think a lot of quarterbacks will be successful. I mean, I'm curious to see. I think one quarterback that'll actually be very successful that isn't high on many draft boards. I think he's Jackson Dart. I think he'll have a good career. I mean, they still have their bowl game. I actually was just looking. I
Oh
was
yeah,
I was being dumb. I didn't realize that there was still some left. They play January 2nd against Duke, so. That'll be kind of interesting. And I don't know if you saw, but he had his like Instagram post about putting on the jersey for the last time, like representing Ole Miss and just maybe the culture they have around us or around them. But yeah, I think he'll be great. I mean, I think he's projected to go in like the second or third round, but I think
really.
he's great. Yeah, it's a heavy quarterback year this year. I mean, you have plenty. You have like Shadur, Curtis Rourke. You
Carson
have
Beck.
Carson back now. Yeah, I guess Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart. There's like 7, 8 quarterbacks that are gonna go off this year. It's crazy. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'd be surprised if Jackson Dart was below Carson Beck. Uh,
Oh yeah,
just because of the year he's had. I mean, I know like sometimes the like Carson Beck probably should have declared for the draft last year. I feel like this year kind of hurt his draft stock. Um, but sometimes the year you have like before you go into the draft doesn't always affect it. Like I mean, Caleb Williams still got picked first overall, and he had a worse year the year he got drafted than the year before when he won the Heisman. Um, and I mean, his attitude was completely different too the year after he won the Heisman before he went to the draft. Um, so I mean, I don't know if that's going to affect Carson Beck, especially because he got that injury on his elbow, had to have surgery. I don't know if general managers are going to be looking at that and saying he might not last too long. Maybe we wait to pick him till later.
I mean, I think it would have been a lot easier to see him play against Notre Dame tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, that won't happen now. If honestly, no, I think there's a lot more options to pick from than Carson Beck. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a first rounder. I mean, maybe you could push for a second round. I'd say maybe a third day, like third rounder. I no, it's third day. Third round is second day. I would say like a late second day, maybe early third day. I don't know. I don't see the hype around Carson Beck at all. I mean, I love Jackson Dart more than Carson Beck. You can argue even Curtis Rourke is better than Carson Beck, but yeah, there's so many more options for teams, and I think Carson Beck going into, I think he'll come in as a backup. I don't think you're gonna have one of these like bad teams in the NFL right now, like the Titans or I don't
the
even know, the
Giants.
yeah, exactly. They're not going to go in with Carson Beck in mind. Like you
Yeah,
have so many other options, and like I said, they're 3 and 4 in the draft right now. So when you think about it, you would think Cam Ward, would you go Shadur? Like very similar play styles. You don't want a Carson Beck. Like he would be like the JJ McCarthy of this year. Like you kind of sit out, observe, learn, and then when it's your time, you could finally come in. So you would see him go to a more successful team, like I don't even know, like an old like a Rams. Like I could see him going to the Rams and just sitting behind Matthew Stafford and kind of fitting into that offense. That's one I could see. But yeah, no, he's not going to go early.
the only thing about the Rams though is they have Stenson Bennett right now. I think is their backup
Oh,
to Matthew Stafford.
I didn't think about that. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if anything, he probably goes to maybe Kansas City. I mean, I know Carson Wentz is a backup over there, but he's an older quarterback. He's older than Mahomes, um, so I think he can maybe learn from the both of them.
yeah,
Uh, Definitely not the Bears though. That's like a cursed organization at this point.
yeah. No, I think going if you're going to the Bears, I'm sorry. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. Or the Jets. I mean,
Oh yeah,
hey,
the Jets.
there's controversy there. I mean, Carson Beck, here's your moment. I mean, you've got Garrett Wilson, you got Devontae Adams. I mean, hey, they both may look for trades after the season, depending on where Aaron Rodgers goes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and then there was rumors too that if Aaron Rodgers were to stay, Garrett Wilson wants to leave. So
Hmm.
it'll just be Packers reunion all over again, just in MetLife instead of Lambeau. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
And also, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's getting close to that retirement age. He doesn't have much time left. So if any of the quarterbacks do go over there, they could be starting pretty quick. I mean, look at Mike Penix. He wasn't expecting to start this year. He was supposed to be behind Kirk Cousins, and then towards the end of the year, Kirko wasn't really doing too hot, and they were like, okay, you know what? We're going to put in Penix, and we're going to see what happens. And even though they lost last week, he still put up a great game.
Yeah, I was gonna say all the hate that he got on draft night after he got picked. I think a lot of that definitely gets wiped away. He played really, really well, and I think coming into Washington and playing a 10-5 Commanders team with another top quarterback, rookie quarterback to say the least. He played really well. I mean, he had 223 yards, a touchdown, a pick, but like I said, this is what his second start or no, this is his first start. He got in last week. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good first game a half, and he kept his team, and he got into OT with Jaden Daniels. Oh my god, who's been a dog the entire season, and with a playoff team, and now there's a lot of pressure for the Falcons with playoffs on the line. Like they were 7-8 going into the game. Like, are they going to come in? Are they going to make a name? Like, it's going to be hard. And the Falcons, I mean, they didn't win, but they made it a huge game. And I think a big part of that was Penix at quarterback. And I think if Kirk was in instead of him, I think it would be a completely different result. I think Washington probably could have ran away with this game a lot earlier than they did. I mean, they turned it on the second half with 23 second half points, including overtime. So it's interesting, but yeah, I think Penix, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know if Atlanta's going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're on the fringe of elimination, but I mean, all they've got to do is just win the NFC South. Because I think just from what I've seen, even just the past few years, the NFC South is pretty much just win that part of the division, you get in the playoffs. Because I swear, all those teams are always like just at .500 record.
That's the way it always is, I swear. All those teams are just in dumpster fires right now. I mean, hey, I think the Buccaneers and Falcons are turning it around. I mean, I think Baker Mayfield's been crazy good. And then I think Penix, once he gets more involved in the offense, gets more reps next season, they're going to be great. I mean, they have a good offense surrounding him with Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I will see. I think they both have great offenses, and I think they could definitely make some noise next year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, speaking of dumpster fires, kind of going back to college football, the ACC right now has the worst record in the bowl games at 1-9. That's just crazy for a Power Four conference. Being 1-9 in bowl games is insane.
Yeah, that's bad. No, that's really bad. I mean, hey,
so bad.
We talked about SEC and Big Ten coming in as the big dogs. I mean, according to the bowl games, they're not wrong. I mean,
yeah,
ACC, I mean, hey, give credit to Syracuse. I mean, they wiped the floor with Washington State. Kyle McCord, absolute legacy game. That man put on a show. I'll give credit to Syracuse and all of them, but yeah, no, ACC. Oh my! I mean, that pick game was a horrible watch. That was awful. I mean,
how do you lose to Toledo? Like as a group of 14, like in Pitt, and I mean Pitt was ranked at one point this year, and they just completely fell apart after playing SMU.
They got sixth in the MAC league, and they lost, and they beat Pitt. That's absurd. Like the fact that they're even putting up 48 points against Pitt is very concerning. Like I don't get it. Makes no sense.
But, there's a lot of other unfortunate losses for the ACC too. Georgia Tech lost to Vanderbilt. They started coming back and they just couldn't quite finish the job. Boston College lost to Nebraska. Nebraska gets their first bowl win, I think, since like 2016. Obviously, Miami lost to Iowa State. North Carolina State lost to East Carolina. And, of course, North Carolina lost to UConn right before Bill Belichick comes in.
Let's go, baby. Connecticut. You take it, baby. I love my Connecticut, baby. Let's go, UConn. It's been a wild few days watching all this unfold. I don't get it. I think one that's now in the ACC that I was like, wow, is USC A&M. I thought that was a pretty interesting game. I think A&M, they were a very good team throughout the season. They were making noise. They were a potential playoff contender, and then stuff started to fall apart. But Jacoby Lane for USC had himself that man had himself a day. Like, oh my god, like 7 for 127 and 3 touchdowns. That man played outstanding. He 35-31, like USC. I don't know. I think dude, USC, they're going to be a good team next year. I think. I'm glad IU doesn't play them because if we did, I don't know how it would really turn out. To be honest, I think it would be. I think USC is going to be a good team.
It's so hard to say because I mean, they are losing a lot of people to the transfer portal, but like their record definitely does not speak to the kind of team that they are. They lost so many close games this year, and that record could easily be like 9-3 or 10-3 or like 11-2, kind of like us if they had just come out on top in those games. But instead, they sit at 7-6 just because they couldn't pull out those wins until Friday, December 27th. They came out and they were losing. I think it was 24-7 about halfway through the third quarter, and then they come back at the end of the game, just drop 28 points on Texas A&M's head, and then come out with the win. Just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's nuts. And I mean, hey, I think, I don't know. I don't think we did get to talk about it whatsoever because it happened a few days ago, maybe 3 or 4. But the transfers now, the transfer portal kind of opened itself up, and especially for us, like speaking of good
Oh
teams,
yeah,
how about us? I mean, first of all, we get Lewis Moore coming back from Ole Miss. He's back in B Town after playing one season at Ole Miss. I'm just glad to have him back. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza. That's probably the biggest pickup we're gonna have all
yeah.
season.
I
He's
like I said I think a few episodes ago that he was coming to IU
yeah.
and that he would be a great fit. So I think people are gonna have to watch out for us again next year.
I'm glad he's back. I'm glad we have him because I don't know how I would feel about rolling with Taven, but I'm glad Mendoza. I mean, Mendoza, he's he can sling it. I mean, he put up some good games for Cal, and the record really doesn't show. I mean, they had a couple of close losses. I mean, like he put up with Miami. There's been other. He put up with Pitt. Like there's been some close games for him in the ACC, and I think he can make some noise to help IU in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Tathan did declare for the transfer portal a while ago. I'm wondering if he actually went to a team. I'm trying to look through the transfer portal right now to check, but there's so many people to look through.
And also too, like Mendoza has 2 more years of eligibility, so we could have him for 2 more years. That would be crazy if he stayed again after the 2025 season, and we can make some noise in 2026. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of hype around IU football now. I'm glad. I'm glad it's here because our basketball team. Oh boy, that's a complete
Yeah,
fire right now. Even though our record shows that we look good, oh no,
no,
we are a dumpster fire right now.
yeah, it's not a good look right now for our basketball team. But we're gonna be able to talk about that soon once the football season is over.
Oh man, dude, that I don't know if you saw. Did you see the photo of Umar Bottle at the bar,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's why he got sad. Oh my god. Oh man.
my dad thought it was like some kind of injury, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
don't
I
know.
don't remember seeing him get hurt,
Yeah,
but
no. We also picked up Roman Hemby from Maryland. He was like really good run. He put up really good numbers at running back this year. We got Riley Nowakowski from Wisconsin, 3-star tight end. Who else? Obviously Mendoza, Makai Jackson at wide receiver from App State, and then like you said, Lewis Moore returning to us from Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean,
That's
before also, I swear, like I looked at the portal and I was like nervous. Like before we were playing Notre Dame, I'm like, there's nothing. We have nothing. There's just not a lot of movement coming in from the portal. But now it's like now we're out of the playoffs and now we're putting in the work in the transfer portal.
yeah. It's huge now. I'm telling you, getting Mendoza, that is the biggest loss we could have had. We have 2 years of having a quarterback now with with Mendoza. He's gonna be day one starter, and also his brother is a freshman quarterback too.
Hmm.
So we could be seeing Mendoza generation, or no. What am I saying? Mendoza. Uh,
Mendoza family takeover.
yeah, literally, we could see him here for the next, I don't even know, 4 years. Oof, that would be interesting.
Assuming that he's as good as his brother too. Or better. Imagine if his younger brother's better.
Well, all you can do is hope, and we got to watch. I mean, I haven't seen him like he has not been in whatsoever. I mean, we've only really seen Taven Rourke just because of how good Rourke has been all year. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear how he's been throughout his freshman season, throughout practice and all that.
Yeah. It's gonna be something to see. And I mean, another thing too, like about these bowl games is like you it's really the beginning of next year. Just because I mean, with all the opt outs, minus Colorado, because Colorado had their whole starting lineup in, but like, it's kind of what teams are going to look like next year more than like what teams actually look like at the end of the year. So I mean, lots of these outcomes kind of mean different things just because people are now starting to be like, maybe we should leave our starting lineups in like Colorado, or we're gonna have some of our starters sit out for half the game, like Miami did with Cam Ward when they put in different quarterback. I mean, speaking of that, I'm wondering what Miami's going to do next year for quarterback since Cam Ward's leaving.
Yeah, that's some big shoes to fill. That's um that's like a top five pick you're trying to replace right there. That's gonna be hard. And obviously Miami was on the rise this year because of Cam Ward. Now you're looking, how can you keep that? And
Yeah,
obviously some of those up and coming teams, I mean like Penn State, they have Drew Aller again this year. IU, we have Mendoza now for 2 years. Miami, you really got no one to show for. I mean, Georgia too. Who do you have there? Like
yeah.
that'll be interesting because now Carson Beck is gone. Ole Miss, where do you go without Jackson Dart? Like, and two, like Fernando Mendoza, he was a contender for Georgia. Like that was one of his final four schools. So now they're kind of getting put in a bad place because really, I mean, really, this is the time that the backup shows what he's got now against Notre Dame because if depending I forget who their backup is, but
I
depending on
think
how many.
Stockton, it's either Gunner or Connor Stockton.
Oh yeah. Depending on how many years of eligibility he has left, does that mean he gets to stay in that role for next year? Depending on how he does against Notre Dame, like does he push Georgia to a natty? Does he get them to the natty? Like, or do they get wiped by Notre Dame? Like, there's still some looming questions, and it sucks Carson Beck got hurt when he did because now, one, for Carson Beck, you don't know where you're going to be in draft stock anymore. Second, you're kind of putting Georgia in that like waiting position because you want to see, is is Stockton gonna be that guy for them for the next couple of years, or are they rushing to go find someone like Mendoza? But now, since it's kind of winding down, there's not much left to select from. So
Yeah,
Georgia's in a really bad spot, and I think a lot will happen for them within the next year.
yeah. Because I mean, if Georgia goes looking for a starting quarterback while Stockton is still playing, and if I think it just sends a poor message to him because then it just shows that they don't have faith in him before he's even played a full game of football for Georgia. I mean, it would be really bad on them to do that. And then if he does well, it's kind of more out of spite, if anything, um, if they were to look for someone. But but at the same time, if he does do well, then Georgia's in a really great position because then they don't really have to do a lot of. They don't really have to find too many more pieces. They really just need to find wide receivers and like people that can catch the ball. But Ole Miss, I don't know why they haven't found a starting quarterback to replace Jackson because he's leaving, but they're not in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
maybe they're confident in their backup, whoever that is. But
I
I don't
think their
know.
backup, he transferred to did he transfer to Wazoo? I think. Yeah, I think he
Hmm.
did. I don't know why they're not also looking for someone. I mean, maybe they have a younger talent like they're ready to kind of bring in. I mean, I think there's a lot of quarterback looming questions for weirdly for SEC teams, I would think, because the Big Ten they got all the good quarterbacks. Like
Yeah,
they got St. Clair, they got I'm blanking on his name. Michigan, what's his face? The number one recruit for
yeah.
Michigan.
I know who you're talking about. I'm like totally blanking right now
He's like
too.
the 6'3". Yeah, yeah. And then you have Julian Lewis for Colorado. I mean, they're not Big Ten, but not SEC. And then obviously we have Mendoza now. A lot of SEC teams are kind of struggling to like pick a quarterback. And I mean, I think the only one that's in a comfortable position right now is Texas with Ewers and Arch Manning because both
Yeah,
of them they've shown what they can do. But like we said, like Ole Miss, Georgia,
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how which direction they go in, and depending on that, how well do they perform? Like, do they get themselves back into the playoffs? Do we have more of these lower branded name teams like Indiana, SMU, Boise kind of come in? It's gonna be interesting.
yeah. I mean, the backup quarterback I just found him. It's Walker Howard. He went to Louisiana State, the Raging Cajuns. He committed December 10th.
Yeah. Uh,
But I think also just like the way the transfer portal has been moving, like at least kind of like what you're talking about with the Big Ten getting all the big quarterbacks, whether it's like out of high school or from the transfer portal. I mean, it kind of speaks to how the era or just it's a different era of college football, and I think in the future, like I mean, I know SEC has been complaining a lot about Big Ten favorability, but I mean, it's just an era of football where the Big Ten, like they're kind of like the SEC, they're big money schools, but there's almost a different kind of fierceness to and determination to have their football teams be great and to make even more money. I mean, just even just looking at the USC Texas A&M game. I mean, Texas A&M was the fourth best team in the SEC. USC was like middle to the bottom of the pack. Um, and USC ended up winning. And people keep saying, oh, well, the SEC is a deeper conference than Big Ten. But our like ninth or 10th best team took out your fourth best team. So really, who's the deeper conference? Like,
yeah, I think next year too it'll show that the Big Ten is a lot better. I mean, I think Nebraska is going to be a lot better. I think
yeah,
Wyoming is going to have a way better second year. I think we're still going to be good. Penn State, Oregon, I think they're both still going to be good. I think USC will be on the rise. Penn State, obviously, they're still going to be good.
yeah. Penn
Yeah,
State's still going to have Drew Aller too. He's returning.
OSU, I completely forgot about Ohio State.
Oh,
Uh,
Ohio State's always good. Yeah,
yeah, like,
Michigan,
it really shows Michigan, depending on how they do. Yeah, I think
Iowa too. I mean, Iowa. I mean, sure they lost by 3 points to Missouri, but I mean, if you think about last year, Iowa, you would have never thought that that game would have been close, and it was
oh
only a
yeah,
3 point game.
and Illinois too. They finished what 20th? Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I mean, I think um yeah, I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of questions.
There's definitely been a power shift for sure. Even just
Uh,
within the conferences. I mean, South Carolina. I mean, they're 15th right now, but they picked up Aaron Nolan from the portal. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna start him or if they're gonna have him sit 1 year and then start him the year after, but they ended up picking him up.
Yeah, I don't know. College football is going to be very interesting next year. I think, in general, I think there's a lot of questions surrounding many different teams between coaching changes. Because like, realistically, too, we have to wait to see what coaches move to. Because I think that'll
Yeah,
have a lot of decisions on player impacts, like between like, will Ryan Day go? Like that's going to be interesting. Like, will James Franklin go? Like it's gonna be very interesting to see how everything shapes out with that because we've seen players decommit from schools because of coaching. Like we saw when Nick Saban left, how many Alabama commits just dropped them completely because they wanted to go for Saban, and now
yeah,
they don't get the chance to do that. So does Ryan Day and James Franklin have that reputation that some of those commits or some of those transfers, are they gonna decommit? Are they gonna leave? Like, are they gonna go to another team, especially like another Big Ten team, where they will end up playing their former committed team throughout the year? Like, there's a lot to unfold, and also a 14 team playoff. Will that kind of come into implication? Will there be different rules for the 12 team playoff? Like, there's so much to determine for just college football as a whole, and like between NIL and how big it's gotten now, there's so much in the air. And I mean, like, although there may not be many transfers left to kind of select from, or many commits that are undecided, or many players that are undecided, how big of a factor will NIL be? Like, we'll see.
yeah. It's going to be interesting. I mean, another team. I mean, we kind of talked about them a little bit, but and conference order that's going to be interesting next year. I think the Big 12 next year could be very interesting, at least like in a positive way. Not necessarily like it'll be kind of chaotic, but I think it'll be. I think the Big 12 will be better overall next year, partially because of Colorado. Because Colorado, they got a really good. I don't think he was number one because Michigan picked up the number one quarterback, but he originally committed to USC, is now committed at Colorado, and he's going to be playing over there. And Colorado stole some big, big commits from like Penn State and other big schools like that. So I mean, Big 12 could be in a really good spot next year, at least for getting playoff bids.
Yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of controversy too with the Big 12. Um, I think obviously Colorado, what happened there? BYU, like there was so much hate before they started losing about how they weren't favored at all, how they were stuck at that 10-9 seed, like they were capped there. Iowa State, weren't they like top 8 at one point earlier in the season? Like they were really highly ranked.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, no, next year it's gonna be very interesting, and I think that Colorado hype train, I think it's still gonna be up there now with Julian Lewis and all the I don't even know, like the PR that's gonna be there, like the
oh
media
yeah,
training, it's all gonna be up there now for them again. Like just having Deion Sanders as a coach, that it's just you're gonna get there. And I think obviously too, I won't, we'll go back to the Big 12, but like just ACC, like Bill Belichick, they're gonna get a lot of
yeah,
hype there in UNC. But yeah, like the Big 12, like obviously ASU, they're going to be a big name now this year because of like how they've been with Cam Scadaboo and how great they've been. But yeah, I think the Big 12 is on the rise too.
yeah. It'll be fun to see. I mean, because I think a lot of people just kind of for both ACC and Big 12, they just kind of were just like, oh, well now the Big 12 picked up like the lower tier Pac-12 teams. ACC kind of looked like they did the same thing. They picked up a group of 5. Like it was looking like those conferences were going to be weaker long term in the future, but it seems like it's kind of the opposite. Is what's happening. Um, I feel like these schools are now being able to tap in more to their money, and they're getting more money from being in these bigger conferences. Um, so I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens long term with these schools. But I think it's definitely be positive. And kind of going back to Colorado, I mean, this is Dion's second year as coach there. I feel like it feels like he's been there for longer, just because of how often his face has been thrown around on like TV advertisements and just in the college football world. But he's only been there for 2 years, and he's already turned around Colorado in such a quick way. And it's like their future is extremely bright, I think.
Yeah, they've got a good program around them. I think obviously losing their Heisman, losing their starting quarterback, I think that's going to be two big pieces. You're probably losing debatably the first and second overall pick in the NFL draft right there. That's going to be major toll. But I mean, Julian Lewis, that kind of closes that gap in a little bit. I mean, he's been really. He's shown some flashes that he could be really good going pro or just first of all in college because that's the next step. But I think just Coach Prime, he's like a father coach. Like he knows what he's doing, and I think the way he's able to coach his players, I think it's a very different form than many other coaches that you'll see. And I think it really works for those players. Like they're kind of building their mentality based off of the way or the form of his kind of style of coaching. And I think I don't know. I think it's just helped them be more successful. Like it's more of like a family than like individual performances. And obviously you have their star-studded players like that take over games, but it's a way bigger team effort than a lot of other teams necessarily you'll see.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going off that as well, it really showed. I think a lot of teams are starting to find different ways to separate themselves and make them more unique. Because it's like I mean, Big Ten, like there's 18 schools in the conference. It's like you've got to like, and all of them can be competitive. They all have the potential to be competitive. But it's about like trying to find how do you separate yourself from the other schools in the conference and say we're the ones that you want to go to. Like in Colorado, like Dion has done a great job of that. Like you said, like being more of a father figure to the guys, like giving them media coaching and just the way that he coaches those players. Also, it's just very unique. I mean, go with the ACC, Bill Belichick's offering just a path, like essentially a path to the NFL, like just a straight path to the NFL. Like if that's what you're looking for, then like you're going to want to go to Bill Belichick. I mean, ACC also has a lot of schools in their conference as well that are all kind of on the same level. I mean,
Yeah.
Alabama at one point had that too, like with Saban, like just the amount of, I think Alabama right now has the most players in the NFL. And it's because they all were under Saban. But when Saban left, that all kind of changed. I mean, now it's like you've got Kalen DeBoer there. I mean, yeah, he wins, but like, has he won in the SEC? Kind of. I mean, they didn't have a horrible year, but they also like definitely wasn't the year that I don't think anyone at Alabama really wanted. Just especially after last year making it to the playoffs and everything.
Yeah, and I mean we've seen a lot of like the Saban coaching trees, like obviously with Signetti, and how successful he's been. I think honestly for me, like if I'm a player like looking to get recruited, I would go to I think everyone has their own preferences, and you just got to accept that with like where they go. And like obviously, if they flip their commit because of a certain coaching preference, it is what it is. Like you got to deal with it. But I tend to see more of like the former players, former coaches. They tend to have better success. I think they tend to have more success. And I think they see it because it's in the pro level and they know what to expect. Like when you're just coaching college, you only see what's happening in college. But when you're looking, when you're in pro league, when you're in the NFL, and you drop down a step and you see everything below you that like before they get brought up to your level, it's easier to coach them that way. And I think that's why I think a lot of people are high on UNC next year just because of having Bill Belichick. I mean, I think it'll take a couple of years to kind of flip the program around just because of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
But I think being able to have Bill Belichick, probably the best coach in the NFL that we've seen, but it's debatable. But he knows what he's doing, and he's got the Super Bowl rings to back it up. And obviously, he's going to bring in talent just because of who he is, name, obviously NIL, name, image. It's yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, that is something I've kind of noticed too, is that a lot of players are very quickly drawn to the experience of people that have been at the professional level, whether it's Dion, who's a former player, or Bill Belichick, who's a former coach. And also, obviously, the Saban tree is definitely a huge attraction because Nick Saban is right now considered probably the greatest college football coach of all time. But he has also coached at the professional level as well. I mean, he did coach the Miami Dolphins for a little bit, but just knowing that like there's coaches out there that have worked under him and have trained under, like they've just, a lot of their experiences from Saban is also a huge attraction. I mean, obviously we have Coach Sig. Like Oregon has Dan Lanning, Georgia has Kirby Smart, Miami has Cristobal. Like there's a lot of Saban coaches out there now roaming at the head coaching position.
Yeah, no, there's. I'm sorry. We just lost. We just we were trying to figure out fantasy punishment for our friend because we it's a 10-mile radius and we just drop him and he just like found like a 10-mile cemetery away. I was just like dying at that. But yeah, no, it's crazy. I honestly I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Nick Saban, he's like created his own family tree for coaches, and like obviously we brought in more coaches too for next year, like just for IU. I think we got like the co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. I think.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty hype.
Yeah, because our old one, I think he took a job at UCLA.
Yeah. I think so. Wait. Yes, he did. I think the one we got though, I don't know. I didn't think a lot of people liked the signing from what I saw. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens next year. I think our schedule still favors us a little bit. I mean, it's going to be harder than this year, to say the least. I think obviously going to Penn State is going to be hard. Going to Oregon is going to be hard. Wisco, I think, could be a good game. But yeah, no, there's a lot of games on our schedule. But hey, we have Coach Sig, so I'm not too worried.
Where I'm trying to like figure out where he was. It's Chandler Whitmer. It says he coached he coached in the NFL in the past season as the Atlanta Falcons pass game specialist, working closely with quarterbacks. And our previous guy was Tino Cersei. He accepted the UCLA offensive coordinator job.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, I don't really know what Chandler Whitmer's reputation is, so I don't really know if we should like or not like the hire. But I mean, he he has worked at the professional level, so I think that's going to be helpful for quarterbacks, especially Mendoza, because he has 2 years left, but he's going to need like that experience of being at the professional level. I think is going to be helpful to his development.
Yeah, and if Mendoza does stay again, he'll be that mentor for his brother too, especially. And I think that's the reason why, to be honest, he picked IU over Georgia. I think take away his brother, I think he would have went to the bigger name and go
Yeah,
with Kirby Smart. But thankfully, his brother's here, so I guess that's the reason why he chose to come here. But I think I don't know. There's a lot of factors that kind of go into how a player plays, and that's between head coach, offensive coordinator, position coach, even just like the position locker room is a big factor. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of mix him in with everyone else. I mean, we obviously saw this year with how all the JMU guys did with just like the normal IU guys and like how they kind of fit their way in, and it worked out well. It worked out really well. 11-1. You couldn't have asked for a better season besides losing to OSU. I mean, that's
yeah.
great. Um,
And some of
but
those guys are still staying, I think, because they were
yeah,
like either
our
sophomores or redshirt juniors.
our defense is staying. Like we have Aiden Fisher back. We have D'Angelo Pons, who's literally a junior this year, or
Yeah.
he's going to be a junior. So that's crazy.
We still have
Uh,
Kamara too, don't we?
yeah, that's our big three right there on
Yeah.
offense. So or defense. So that's going to be great for us.
Yeah. I feel like it feels like as this postseason is going by, it just gets better and better for us. Seriously, so every other day, I'll go on Instagram and I follow Hoosier Recruiting, and they always are up to. They always keep me updated on what new recruits come into IU, and it feels like every other day there's someone new either looking or coming to IU, like in football. It's just crazy.
Well, we are a really good. Um, we are really good. We have a really good reputation now. I think. I think just this year we've created like a really good name for ourselves, and I think next year we bring in all the recruits and we kind of see how everyone intermixes with one another. I think we're gonna be a strong contender again. I mean, do I think we'll make
Yeah,
playoffs? I think our chances are probably a little less likely just because I think we have two losses straight up on our schedule, and the amount of two loss controversy teams that we didn't see get in. I think IU could be in that same situation next year, but it'll be interesting.
yeah. I mean, just considering the people we're gonna have staying too, I think the guys that are staying, I feel like they're gonna be good leaders for the people coming in, and also just like some of those guys have been with Sig for so long. Where I feel like there's like the culture is definitely going to be. I feel like it's going to be even better than it was this year. I mean, also considering the fact that we were the first football team to reach 700 losses, like overall,
Yeah.
like just over the course of our history. Like we went from being like the losingest program to now like having top commits and recruits coming here. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. It's nuts. It's nuts. I'm excited. I'm excited to see. I mean, obviously you won't be here, but I'm excited to see like the atmosphere at games next year. I think it's going to be very. I hope it starts off the way it ended last year. I think.
Yeah,
I hope the hype that we had at the end of last season. That's what starts the beginning of the season. And progressively, it gets even better, even though we were packed out. I'm actually also curious to see, like, not this is like outside of football standpoint. I'm curious to see what Witten does with like the stadium,
oh,
stadium.
like redoing it.
Yeah. Because she said after one season they're going in. Oh, Joseph just said,
Yeah,
I bet. Yeah. Well. Oh well. But
it's what we're
I'm curious.
doing. We're doing two this week, so it's all good.
Yeah. The renovations she was talking about. I think that'll be interesting. Um,
Yeah, especially
because
like some of the teams that have played us recently at home. Like I feel it's gonna be a completely new change for them because they're gonna be like, wait a minute, there's like 30,000 more people here than normal. What is going on?
I mean, I think the bigger stadium we have, the better it'll be. I think if we
Yeah,
become a more consistent football heavy school, I
and the more
think
prepared we'll be for like bigger road environments like Ohio State
exactly.
too.
Yeah, I think that's why going to Oregon and going to Penn State, that's going to be rough for us. That's going to be
Yeah,
really, literally the two teams that played in the Big Ten championship. We are playing both on the road, so that's going to suck. But you know what? We will see what happens, and hopefully, maybe they make it far. Because maybe we do root for them all the way through the playoffs. So
yeah,
maybe there's a little bit of a buffer. If we do lose to them decently bad, we could say, oh yeah, they were the reigning national champions, or they were the reigning national champion runner-ups. And they're both on opposite sides of the bracket too. So we could see a rematch of the Big Ten championship in the Natty. So
yeah.
we'll see.
That'd be pretty hype, actually.
And that was a good game, the Big Ten championship. That was a
Yeah,
really
I don't think anyone was expecting it to be either. I
no.
think everyone expected Oregon to just throttle Penn State, but Penn
Well, I'll
State
tell you,
hung
there's
around.
a lot of Penn State. Well, because I was lucky that I picked that game to go to because that game there were so many Penn State fans there. I mean, I was wearing my IU shit. I was wearing my IU stuff. My bad. I was wearing my IU stuff, and yeah, the amount of white and blue that I saw on the lower deck, it was insane. It was crazy.
Wow.
But I don't know. I would love to see it again. I think Drew Aller, he played phenomenally throughout that game. So did Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah. I think just looking at our road schedule, I think it's a really hard road schedule. I mean, we're going to Penn State, to Maryland, to Eugene, to Iowa City. All of those are, I mean, except Maryland, all of those are tough places to play. Um,
Yeah.
I think if we get a win, like 2 wins out of that, like on the road, I think we probably should be in because I feel like this schedule is harder than this year's, like
Yeah.
by a lot.
We'll see. I'm curious to see does OSU and Michigan do they start their rookie quarterback or their freshman quarterbacks now? Like, and we'll see will they have a major impact or will they pull like a Dylan Raiola where their first year is a little shaky, and because of that, they get off to a rough start, like we saw in Nebraska. Like Nebraska, they were supposed to kill us, and we beat them 56-7. It'll be
We ended up
interesting.
killing them.
Yeah, exactly. And now looking back on it too, if we had lost to Michigan, we would not have been in the playoffs. I don't think.
Yeah, probably not.
So now that they have a brand new quarterback, and we had to face Alex Orji and that I don't know. It was a struggling Michigan offense, to say the least. But our defense, they were great throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
Now, do we? It's gonna be interesting. Do we play Michigan again, with their freshman quarterback in? Do we play OSU with their freshman quarterback? Oh, we don't even play OSU this year.
We don't play either of them.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
No, we play Michigan State, but we always play Michigan State because that's a trophy game.
yeah, trophy game. No, never mind then. Just don't mind what I was just talking about. Thanks.
We're going to be playing, I mean, Wisconsin, I think. Wisconsin's always kind of good. I mean, they're not the past few years, they haven't been amazing. Not like they were in the 2010s, but they were able to hold Oregon to they only lost by 3 points to Oregon.
Yeah, yeah, they put up the biggest fight, and also I was just kind of scrolling. It was just announced an hour ago that Mike Shanahan for IU won Offensive Coordinator of the Year. So let's go. That's great. So we won Coach of the Year and Offensive Coordinator of the Year.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I feel like with the new pieces that we're going to have, I think we're going to do better on offense next year. Because I feel like in some of these bigger games, like against OSU and against Notre Dame, we didn't call the way that we probably should have. I think we probably could have been a little more aggressive.
Yeah,
I think also at the same time, new offense, new coaches, new coordinator, like just it was new everything. So it's like there was confidence there, obviously against like inferior opponents, but like when it comes to superior opponents, like people are gonna call differently. I mean, we see this all the time with James Franklin, your favorite guy. But I think this year, like just because we have new quarterback that we clearly have a lot of confidence in, we're bringing in new wide receivers, new running backs. We have important people staying. Um, I think our offense is going to be built a lot better than it was this year. And I think that's going to, our play calling is definitely going to be affected by that. And I think we're going to be calling a lot more aggressively, which I think will give us a shot at like possibly Oregon. I think we could maybe beat Penn State. Except I just don't know with Penn State's offense. But
I think we could have beaten Penn State.
this year would have been the year to do it. But
Next
next
year's
year, the way Drew Allar's been performing at the end of this year, I don't know if we're going to get Penn State. Our defense definitely is going to have to do something to affect Allar's confidence in the pocket.
I
But
mean, you never know. Like, does Mendoza have himself a year too? Like, we don't know. Like, is Signetti able to kind of shape him? Because obviously, Signetti and Rourke weren't connected at JMU. Like, he wasn't a
yeah,
JMU transfer, he was an Ohio transfer. So, does he do the same thing with Mendoza? And I think Mendoza has a lot of potential. I mean, he's already playing in a Power Four conference
yeah,
with Cal, and they have a lot of hard. I mean, we were just kind of talking down on the ACC a little bit with their bowl game, like with their bowl game, with what happened in their bowl games. But they still have some good teams. Like Cam Ward, they would have won if they just played them throughout the entire game. Like so, that's another one. But
yeah,
Syracuse, that's a hard game at some points. You have Miami, Pitt, SMU. Like, yeah, it's tough there. And I think Big Ten. I think it's obviously a little harder, but I think having that power forward experience, I think that's really going to help Mendoza. And I think Rourke's season is definitely one that's going to be hard to top. I mean, he was already in Heisman voting, but
yeah,
I think there's a chance he can have a similar season to Rourke and kind of perform to the similar level where we kind of get into the playoffs again. And hopefully we do. I mean, hopefully he has a good season, but it'll all come down to the coaching and the connection between Signetti and Mendoza.
yeah. And also there's going to be a new quarterback coach too. So
Yeah.
it's going to, I don't know how quickly he's going to be able to develop or help develop Mendoza. But I mean, even like Cal, I get they were kind of a tough place to play as well themselves. I mean, they did win college game day atmosphere of the year, like when they played Miami, um, and they played Miami very close in that game. I think it was like a 1 or 2 point game. It was very close, and they were winning for most of it. Miami had to claw their way back, but yeah, I mean, the Cal fan base this year, kind of like with us, like they just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and so I mean, just having that experience, like coming to IU, I mean, he's gonna have experience with like being in a new, um, I guess, riled up fan base because I mean that's essentially kind of what we were. Like we were like not really a new fan base, but like we were like a revived and riled up fan base that all of a sudden cared about football.
Yeah, I mean, but you saw the progression that we had throughout the year with like how many fans entered, and then eventually when game day came here, we had the first sellout, and I don't even know how long. But then it's from there, it's just been sellout after sellout after sellout. So hopefully, it kind of stays that way. I mean, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
I guess before we go, do we have any last minute playoff predictions for these 4 games that we have coming up?
man, if I'm gonna say, man, if James Franklin loses, that's gonna be a bad it's gonna be a bad look for him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we'll see. I don't know, but I think if OSU plays the same way they played against Tennessee against Oregon, they will win. That's my project. That's my take.
You think OSU is going to win against Oregon if they?
I don't think so, but if they play as well as they did against Tennessee, but do that against Oregon, then they will win. But Oregon is a lot tougher than Tennessee. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
OSU, they could have beaten Oregon if Will Howard didn't do what he did in that first game. So,
If he
I mean,
acted
hey, they
just a
are
little
favored.
quicker.
Yeah, and they are favored 2.5 points. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. I think it'll be close. I think it'll probably be the best game of the 4 quarterfinal games. But
I think either that or the Notre Dame Georgia game are going to be the best games. Just because, I mean, we don't really know what Stockton is capable of just yet. I know that Alabama apparently was recruiting him, according to Saban, on College Game Day. So, I mean, that could shape out to be a very interesting game as well.
yeah, and he's also Stockton's deciding his future too with that game. So
Yeah,
it'll yeah, it's gonna determine a lot. Like, can you compete with a top 5 team in the country? So in a high stakes game, like winner go home type scenario. So Stockton's gonna learn a lot for himself, and the team's gonna learn a lot about him for his future coming up.
yeah. I think I think Penn State beats Boise State. I feel like both I feel like both James Franklin and Drew Aller have evolved in a positive way at the end of the year, like at the right time. I think they should blow out Boise State. Um, I think Arizona State at least covers the spread against Texas because I think Arizona State is a better team than Clemson is. Um, if for some reason Texas, if they don't play as disciplined as they played against Clemson, I think Arizona State could possibly they could win. They could sneak out a win, but I think Arizona they're going to have to get up early. They're going to have to score early. I think Ohio State could honestly probably beat Oregon. Um, I think the way, like, at least with that game, like thinking of the Tennessee game, what Ohio State's defense did to Tennessee, if they play that way against Oregon, just if they blitz the way that they did against Tennessee, I think that game belongs to Ohio State because that defense, like their offense did really well in that game, but their defense I think was the highlight of that Ohio State Tennessee game. Like they had a huge part in that game, and I think
Yeah,
Notre Dame should beat Georgia
I do too. I have him going to the Natty against
against Oregon.
yeah. So I kind of have to root for Notre Dame there, but we'll see.
I mean, I want Notre Dame to go as far as possible simply because they beat us.
There'll be less hatred towards us. I mean, hey, this our score does not show how bad we got beaten though. I try to be
Yeah,
as nice as possible. That 27-17 does not show how well they played against us. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, it definitely did not show how they played against us. I mean, we started like I don't know what we were doing in that game, honestly. I don't know why we waited until like the last 2 minutes to actually do something, but yeah, I mean,
I will say that onside kick that was really nice.
yeah, you don't see that too often. You don't see onside kicks recovered too often.
No, but it was executed really well. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, today and tomorrow, Boise Penn State. Everyone else tomorrow. We'll see.
Yeah, no, the last few games of 2024.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last one's Penn State, Boise. So Ashton Genty and 2024 with a bang. Go beat Barry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Alabama game, Michigan game is starting right now. Actually,
I
they're
think it's our
about they're about 5 minutes into the first quarter.
yeah. Got to go turn that on.
I'm gonna look at Twitter really quick. I always like click on like whenever I click on the game, I always click on trending, and
Oh yeah.
I always see like what people are saying about the game. Oh, apparently it's raining. Let's see. So if it's raining, I think that probably favors Michigan pretty well because Michigan, I mean, pretty much their whole game plan is run the ball. That's pretty much all they've been doing this year
Yep.
because they can't throw the ball.
They're a disaster. Actually a disaster.
Oh man. Oh my god, I just saw someone put if Bama loses today, dot dot dot, good God, pray for Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah. Man.
Oh my goodness. I always love looking at those tweets. It's so funny.
The memes.
Oh, people some people are just they're so funny.
They make some hilarious jokes. So
Yeah. Oh wow, Michigan might actually be about to score because it says 2nd and 10 at Alabama 30.
damn.
You know, if Michigan wins, that's a great look for Big Ten.
Yeah. And it'll show that Alabama does not deserve to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and we can make the argument that we're better because we beat Michigan. So
Yeah, that is true.
yeah, so I guess I'll see you in a couple of days.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the quarterfinals and how semifinals turn out. We'll see.
Yeah. And if the ACC is able to get another win in
Yeah,
these bowl games,
let's improve that record a little bit more.
yeah, because they still have, I think they have 3 games left. They have the Louisville Washington game, Duke Old Miss, and Virginia
That's a
Tech
loss.
Minnesota.
I think that there's 2 losses right there.
Yeah, I think
All ACC versus Big Ten. Here we go.
Oh, there's 2 ACC Big Ten games.
Oh, VT. What am I?
Yeah,
Wait, no, Minnesota's Big Ten.
yeah, Minnesota's Big Ten.
Wait, so yeah, it is all 3 Big Ten.
No,
Oh,
because Ole Miss.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going through it. Oh my god. Well, all right. Well, just let's just text the day you want to do it, and then I'll let you know.
All right. Yeah.
All right, I'll see you.
Yeah.
All right.
See you in 2025.
Yeah. Good to hear. Bye.